Hello, my name is Maxine Moffett, and you are tuned in to Bridge Africa This Week, the program that connects you to Africa's top headline stories, from economics to politics and sports to culture. Our top headline stories this week include the commemoration of the International Day Against Child Labor focused on ending child slavery and supply chains. The Pope said hunger is one of the major threats to peace. Insecurity of people with albinism is caused by the practice of false witch doctors. Pope Francis asked the world to start seeing extreme poverty and hunger as a reality rather than a statistic.
The head of the Roman Catholic Church made the call during his first visit to the World Food Programme offices in Rome on Monday. He called on world governments to help the organization achieve zero hunger. He said hunger was one of the major threats to peace in the world and everyone needed to play a part to resolve it. The Pope grieved what he referred to as the naturalization of hunger in today's modern and interconnected world. He also urged the member states to decisively increase their commitment to cooperating with the World Food Programme. Pope Francis made a strong petition to the world for an end to child slavery during the World Day Against Child Labor on Sunday, while speaking at a special Jubilee Mass at the Vatican. World Food Programme is the world's largest humanitarian agency fighting hunger worldwide, delivering food assistance to some 80 million people in around 80 countries each year in emergencies. It works with communities to improve nutrition and build resilience.
A court in Malawi banned witch doctors in the country following an increase in the killing of albinos who are hunted down and murdered for their body parts, which are believed to give wealth and good luck.
Included in the ban are healers, charm producers, magic users, and fortune tellers. The order was granted by Senior Judge Dagiswayo Madis in the northern city of Mzuzu. He also banned adverts for alternative healers whose concoctions are sought for a wide variety of problems, from difficulties to finding a job and other related problems in every society. One of the clients had been promised that an ex-lover would take her back, but he was disappointed the charm did not work. Another claimed he had been guaranteed that a robber would return her stolen goods, a court in Malawi was told. Oswald Fury, one of those who sued his healer, said in a statement to the court he believed all the killings of albinos are stemming from witch doctors and greed.
The World Health Organization on Thursday announced Liberia is free of the Ebola virus after the country successfully passed 42 days without a confirmed case of the epidemic.
This is the fourth time that Liberia has been declared free of the virus since the epidemic began in December 2013. According to the World Health Organization, the most recent flare-up was traced to a woman who had been exposed to the virus in Guinea and traveled to Liberia with her children. They subsequently became infected by spreading the virus. Late last year, the World Health Organization declared the Ebola outbreak virtually over. The virus had killed more than 11,000 people in the most seriously affected West African countries, that is Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone.
As the world marked the Day Against Child Labor on Sunday, Pope Francis made a strong petition to the world to end child slavery. He was speaking at a special Jubilee Mass at the Vatican, a day that brought together stakeholders from around the world to highlight the plight against child labor. Our Bridge Africa correspondent, Maimuna Joya, joins us in the studio today to talk about the plight against child slavery. June 12th marked the 10th edition of the World Day Against Child Labor. What significance does this day have to the African community at large?
This day has been set aside by the international community in order to raise awareness on the plight of children, because it's estimated, or let me just say global estimates across the world show that 150 million children are subjected to inhuman practices. And when you come to Africa, you realize that we're talking about 59 million children between the 5 and 17 years age range. And now the United Nations Children Emergency Fund says that children between 5 years and 14 years are subjected to some economic activity, generally poorly paid, but this is compounded by the fact that these children are exposed to sexual abuse and trafficking, as well as other negative aspects you might think about. So the World Day against child labor has been set aside in order to raise awareness on the plight of these children and call on governments and communities to devise strategies and ensure that something is definitely done in order to eliminate this in our communities.
You mentioned the International Labor Organization and its struggle to end child slavery. What role has this organization played in the fight against child labor?
Okay, now what we must know is that the International Labour Organization, it's definitely an organization which is out to protect the rights of workers. Now, basically, we all know that there is a specific age there is a specific working age, but we realize that in Africa, most of the times it is not respected, because if you go to Cameroon, you realize that in Cameroon, for instance, the labor code states that children below the age of 14 should not be subjected to any economic activity of any kind. But when you get to realize that most families live under very precarious conditions, you realize that at times these children are forced to work. And now the question remains, what is their remuneration? What do they gain at the end of the day? And that is where the problem lies. And that is where we talk about exploitation. And so the International Labour Organization is out to protect these children, to accompany governments and communities to devise strategies which are protective, which can enable children to grow in an enabling environment. And so if this day was equally set aside, is for people and families especially to understand that children have got rights, the right to education. And this is where the International Labour Organization equally comes into play, a role of sensitizing people and launching campaigns in order to make people to understand that child labor is something which goes against human dignity, and specifically children's dignity. And so for it to be discarded in society, there is an utmost need that governments take concrete steps for that.
And what made this year's edition, being that it's the 10th edition for the World Day Against Child Labor, unique?
This year's celebration of the International Day for the Fight Against Child Labor has been so special because we had the Pope denounce activities which do not respect the dignity of children. And so if today we realize that even religious, traditional leaders are mobilizing to let people know that this is an inhuman practice, therefore it's high time everybody tries to do something in order to end the practice.
Thank you, Maimuna.
Thank you very much.
Alhaji Aliko Dangote, Africa's richest man, supported people living in internally displaced people's camps in Borno State with a total of 106 truckloads of foodstuffs towards the Ramadan festivities.
The governor of the Boko Haram-ravaged state, Kashim Shettima, on Wednesday inspected 20 out of the 106 trucks of donated foodstuffs by the Dangote Foundation, and the remaining 86 trucks are expected to arrive the state very soon. The internally displaced people's camp in the state were made by the huge numbers of people who had to flee their homes during the Boko Haram rampage. Reports from most of these camps indicated that the state required support from civil society to effectively help persons living in the camps. Borno State, in the far eastern part of Africa's most populous nation, was the worst state hit by the Boko Haram insurgency that sought to create a caliphate in the region.
A Reuters report stated that Rwanda recently ejected more than 400 Burundi refugees accused of undercover activities, increasing tensions between the two countries. This is the second ejection in a month that has made a total of 1,700 Burundians who have been ejected out of the country. Gay marriage in Africa has really come to light with the Democratic Republic of Congo recently revoking the rights of same-sex couples to adopt children, particularly from foreign nations, as well as Desmond Tutu's daughter, Mfor Tutu, coming out against the Anglican Church and really fighting for gay and lesbian rights, as well as child adoption in Africa. So what do you think about the landscape of gay marriage in Africa, as well as adoption of children by same-sex partners?
Well, thank you very much. Looking at it from the religious perspective and starting with Congo, that's the Democratic Republic of Congo, we discovered that technically homosexuality is practiced in the country, but in hiding. Because in 2006, the Congolese government passed a law prohibiting homosexuality in the country. And Article 40 of their constitution states that marriage is open to people of opposite sex and not of same sex. Now, the issue about gay marriages being banned or gay couples being banned from adopting children in Congo, especially by foreign countries, of which most of the foreign countries that have been adopting children from the Democratic Republic of Congo, the USA is the highest, because between 2010 and 2013, 645% of children were adopted from Congo by families in the US and also from France. Now in 2013, the Congolese government, through the Senate, brought up laws that tightened and refused or banned gay couples from adopting children, because within this period, the Congolese government, through her Minister of Interior, who also doubles as Minister of Security, and the Congolese Migration Commission, instructed the U.S. Embassy in Kinshasa that as from September 27, 2013, they are going to totally ban children from living out of Congo. But what is more penny...
But was it same-sex couples
At
that
this
caused,
period,
that first caused the Congolese government to ban the adoption by U.S. nationals?
No, same-sex was not the first issue. The first issue that Congo banned children from being adopted, they said most of the children were not adopted following the normal norms laid down, and that for any foreign parent or couple to adopt a child from Congo, they had to first of all present themselves within the native court to be able or to assure the people that what the people were to question them, they were to respond to take care of those children. But now the issue of gay is coming up because Congo decided in 2006 to ban gay marriages. They are now bringing it to say they don't want children to be adopted again from Congo because some of them are adopted by the gay people, of which their constitution is against gay marriages. So they have now brought that as an option to justify what they want to be doing.
And is the Congolese government coming under scrutiny from the United Nations?
Yes, the Congolese government has
Amnesty
been coming
International.
over scrutiny, especially from the U.S. government, because the U.S. government critically hit hard on the government of Joseph Kabila.
How?
But hitting hard by condemning the act, because Congo alone has more than
banning gay
4
marriage.
million children who live in orphanages. And these children mostly are in Goma, which is a place in the capital city, of which the Congolese government is unable to take care of these children. The life in the orphanages is terrible. So many families, if you can just imagine that between 2010 and 2013, 645% of children adopted from Congo were adopted by citizens from the US. It just goes to justify the fact that the Congolese government is unable to take care of these children that are living in these refuge, in these orphanages. And it is true that when the American government hit hard on them, by 2015, more than 1,000 of the children who were already legally adopted, because the documents had been signed for these parents to come and take them, some of them went and they had to stay in Congo for 2 years to be able to take their children. But by the end of 2015, they succeeded and took their children and went out. But presently, by the end of that 2013, the American government started warning the American citizens not to be adopting again from Congo. And recently, just on April 26, this year, 2016, the American State Department came out with this decision, which has totally banned U.S. citizens from adopting children from the Democratic Republic of Congo.
And the situation with Desmond Tutu's daughter, Mfor Tutu, what has her stance been within South Africa and the continent at large? supporting same-sex couples and the rights of gay marriage?
Well, it's true that South Africa is the first African country to have legalized same-sex marriage as far back as 2006. But the legalization of same-sex marriage is in contrary with the natural laws preached by the religion to which Mfu Tutu, who is the last daughter to Desmond Tutu, belongs. She's an ordained man of God, a reverend priest of the Anglican Church, and she was serving in Cape Town in South Africa. And it is very clear, according to the Anglican, holy matrimony is a long life union between a man and a woman, not the opposite way. Not a man-man, not a woman-woman. So she had taken the vows and swore that she would stand by those vows. Now that she went ahead by the end of 2015 to get married to somebody again who is of the same sex like her, called Marceline Van Voet, brought a question mark on her. And before carrying that act, her own bishop in Cape Town, Thabo Magabo, had told her that if she goes to do that, they are going to revoke her license of being a reverend.
And what is her father said about?
No, the father supported it because the father was there to give blessings on the wedding.
Okay.
And again, the father even came out openly to say he would not like to go to a homophobic heaven. Phobic means hatred. So the father, according to the father, gay people should also be allowed like any other people.
And is the father an Anglican priest?
The father is a bishop emeritus, Archbishop emeritus of the Anglican Church in Cape Town, South Africa.
So he's connected to the Anglican Church.
He's connected to the Anglican Church.
So that must really be creating quite a rift.
It has created a lot of conflict within the Cape Town Church in South Africa, and also even the Anglican priest woman who officiated the wedding, Bannister Parker from Oxford in Britain, because she left Oxford and went over to Netherlands to officiate the marriage. One of the conservative bishop of the Anglican Church, David Reynolds, has called on her to resign, saying that that was not, or that the vow she took does not permit her to officiate weddings between people of same sex.
Wow, thanks so much, Elvis, for talking to us about these current events that are happening with gay marriage and same-sex couples in Africa. I'm sure there will be more that will be happening within this topic outside of just South Africa and Congo. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
The operation, steered by the Italian Coast Guard in collaboration with Migrant Offshore Aid Station, a Maltese-based foundation dedicated to saving lives at sea, saved about 127 migrants off the coast of Libya on Wednesday. The United Nations Secretary Ban Ki-moon on the 13th of June called on all countries to end the discrimination and attacks that threaten the well-being, health, and lives of people with albinism. Civil society organizations advocate for people with albinism to be considered as specific groups with particular needs that require special attention. With me today to talk about the special plight against albinos is our Bridge Africa correspondent, Colin Asante. What are some of the myths surrounding albinism in Africa?
What an African cannot explain, he reveres, he detests. And the albinos have fallen into this category of people who have been maybe discriminated against because of misconceptions about their skin color, their eye color, and their hair. And that has led to so many myths. The first myth that is very common, especially in the southern part of Africa, is that their body parts are used to make amulets, magic potions. Another myth is that their blood, when you drink their blood, the blood gives you magical powers, which are all false. Then the next myth is that if you have sex with an albino woman, it cures HIV/AIDS, which you know scientifically that's not true. And in other parts of Africa, in the central, western part of Africa, they think albinos don't die, that they only vanish, but that's not proven.
Apart from the myths, do they face any social and cultural discrimination? And what is being done to help to curb some of this stigmatization that's happening against the albinos?
Yeah, with the stigma, the misconception with the stigma, albinos suffer a lot. Some are not loved. Some are hated from birth. There are situations in Africa where couples have divorced because an albino is born into the family and the father is suspecting the mother. They say it's witchcraft and all of that. And because of that, the child is not loved, the child is not shown love, the child is discriminated against with other black pigmented children. So then when the child grows up out in the society, they're not easily accepted. In some countries, there form associations. Yeah, they form associations to create an awareness that they are not the cause of their problems, that they are human beings, they have human rights like you and I and any other, in quotes, normal person. So they've had these associations, and I think the awareness is being created and they're being gradually accepted in most African societies.
What is your view of the commemoration of the International Albinism Day?
Albinism is an international problem. It's not only in Africa. And it caught the attention of the United Nations Organization and the Albinism Awareness Day, 13th of June, was set aside to create this awareness. On that day, the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, he had to really call the attention of the world to the fact that these are fellow human beings, they have human rights, and as we look forward to the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, that nobody should be left behind, even the albinos. So their rights should be protected, they should be treated with dignity.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Maxime.
Today we have an exclusive interview with Fatima Nba, the founder of Jump Africa, which is a nonprofit organization that supports youth empowerment and educational pursuits. To date, they have donated more than 125,000 books and educational materials throughout Africa. Formerly, Mr. Nba was the vice president of A&R of Akon's Convict Music. So Fatima, tell me how Jump Africa came about.
Jump Africa came about a few years ago when I came back to Cameroon after 20 years of not being back.
Wow, 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years of not being back, and I thought things had changed, and a lot of things hadn't changed. And I was trying to figure out what I could do to give back, and I figured out the best way was, help the educational system, which gives hope.
Wow, and so where did you get the books from?
I'm partnered with Books for Africa, which is the largest donor of books to the African continent. I'm on their board of directors.
Okay.
So that's where I get my books and supplies from.
Okay. Wow, that's really interesting. And so what has the process been like about, getting the books, getting people interested in the books? I've been following Jump Africa from your Facebook and Instagram pages and seeing that you've really created a movement of people in America and around the world who are supporting the donation of the books and the processing of the books and shipping the books. It's a whole process. So how did you get people to be involved? And also tell me more about the ambassadors that you have that are part of Jump Africa.
Oh man, how I got people to be involved was I was very active on social media. Of course, being from a musical background, I have quite a few people that follow me.
Yes.
But the people that I thought would support were not necessarily the people that came on board. It was the people that I least suspected. So one by one, they started coming on board when they finally saw like, yo, this is for real.
Yes.
And then over time, next thing I know is like it's become a movement, and everybody, quite a few people are supporting it. I'm blessed to have, of course, a given Akon, who's an ambassador for Jump Africa. Errol, who's now a CBS, former CNN anchor.
Yes.
He's an ambassador for Jump Africa.
Errol Barnett.
Errol Barnett, yes. Lil Nico's an ambassador for Jump Africa.
Okay.
A lot of people might know Lil Nico from Rap Games. Kalina from Dirty Money.
Right.
Yanenga, Jay. Like I have some, and now Bridge Africa.
Yeah, I see. Yes, we're definitely supporting. You have a lot of
Thank you.
Celebrity power. So
Yeah.
tell me about your transition from managing a nonprofit organization from your previous position of being the former A&R of Convict Music. So how did that transition happen?
I didn't really see it as a transition. I felt like, being involved in music, I had a lot of fun.
Yes.
I had a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
And then when I come back to my country and to the continent, I see that there's work to be done, and I saw that in the midst of me having my fun, I forgot that a lot of people were in need.
Yeah.
So therefore, it wasn't really in transition. It's something that had to be done. Music is a passion. Music is never going to go anywhere. I'm still involved in it.
Yes.
But I think, you know, Jump Africa, you know, it's a movement, and a lot more people are in need. So they're starting to identify me more so with the Jump Africa movement than the, you know, the music movement. But I still get the occasional listen to my demo right out of
Right.
nowhere, though.
Right. And but in transitioning into that, what are you doing now with music? And what do you have any interest with music in Africa, particularly?
I absolutely have a lot of interest in music in Africa, and I've still been doing a lot of things behind the scenes with music in Africa. Of course, a lot of people might have heard about the collab with Akon and Jovi.
Yes.
You know, Jovi's from Cameroon.
So you helped to set that up.
Yeah, I
So
had
it's natural for someone to say, "Can you listen to my demo tape?" Correct?
It's very natural.
I would ask if I was a musician. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's very natural. So now I'm really looking for the next, for new artists, whether it be from Cameroon, Nigeria, all over Africa, to the States. So I'm in my development phase of finding the next new talent. I have a few up my sleeve. One of my clients actually is playing the new role of Ralph Tresvant in the
Yes.
new edition movie. That's one of my partners.
Okay.
So I'm still involved in different facets.
Wow, I think that's great. And
Thank you.
we really appreciate you coming in today, Fatima.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Fatima, for coming into Bridge Africa this week. We appreciate Fatima's contribution to Africa and education, as well as music. And we look forward to hearing more about Jump Africa from following his Instagram and Facebook pages. Thank you so much for watching Bridge Africa this week. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Bridge Africa 24 and get your top headline stories on our website, bridgeafrica24.com. Peace and blessings.